What is up, Insaners, and welcome to our Game Week 31 team selection video. So guys, in this one, we're going to talk about our wildcard team, along with some key players to consider this week, and finally wrap up with the top captain picks for this week. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are on your wildcard this week, so do watch the whole video in order to get the best out of your team for Game Week 31. In case if you want to look at the best drafts and some other options, we also did a Game Week 31 video a few days back, and that should also help you to set up a good team this week. Guys, make sure you subscribe if you're new around here, give a thumbs up to today's video, and hit the bell icon if you want to get notified of our coming videos. One more thing, we are doing a deadline stream tomorrow, so do join us for that. Let me know if you want to talk about any specific topics or questions. Okay, then let's start today's video. We'll first review our Game Week 30 team and score, and then move to the key players to buy this week, especially if you are not on your wildcard. I think the last week was kind of okay for us. We got 58 points, that is above the average and just around the top 10k FPL manager score, giving us a small green arrow. Our rank is around the 78k mark at the moment, and we look to get into the top 50k with our wildcard and then see how much more we can gain from there. Now coming to our team review for Game Week 31, let's start with Martinez in goal. So another great performance from the Villa keeper. He made some really good saves, and in spite of not getting a clean sheet, he was still able to get us 4 points, so that was pretty decent. Now we again went back to a back 3, like the most of the season so far, and a pretty disappointing week for our defenders. We were able to manage a combined 5 points from Cresswell, Dallas and Shaw, so not really ideal. There were goals in all of these matches, but no goal involvements from any of these players. A bit disappointed to keep Diaz on the bench, and especially when he kept a clean sheet, so 6 points lost there for sure. But I generally felt that Dallas and Cresswell had a better chance of outscoring Diaz this week, so I'd still back my decision. Coming to midfield, guys, we played 4 across the pitch with Gundogan on the bench, and trust me guys, when the City lineup came, I couldn't be happier. I was dreading leaving the Man City midfielder on the bench, but I think it was the right call. One punt that I took this week and didn't work out was Kai Havertz against West Brom, but I'm sure none of us expected Chelsea to concede 5 goals against them, but in our case, Havertz came off the bench for a short cameo. I guess I was hoping for a miracle when I thought Havertz could get a double-digit haul against West Brom, but a man can hope, right? Jokes apart, no way Havertz stays considering the doubts on most of the Chelsea attackers right now. Son was another risky pick last week. We knew that he was coming off an injury, but I really believe that Mourinho will start him. He did okay in the game, but things might have been different if he had come sooner. Who knows, right? That one pointer obviously didn't help our cause in any way, but I'm hoping that he'll start this week against Man United. Now coming to the players that actually helped us this week, guys, Lingard and Rafinha. Rafinha had another great game against Sheffield United. I so wish that Leeds had better finishers. Rafinha would have been competing with the likes of at least Son and Salah, if not Fernandes. You'll think I'm crazy for saying this, right? But his stats look unreal. He created 4 chances against Sheffield United, with the 3rd highest expected assist this week among all midfielders. Now coming to Lingard, being a United fan, guys, I'm really happy for him. He's playing really well at West Ham. His numbers look really good at the moment, and I've seen so many people on YouTube and Twitter saying that he's overperforming at the moment, that his numbers are exaggerated, but he still returns every week, right? Nevertheless, he gave us 12 points this week, and he was an absolute bargain at that price. Now let's talk about our forwards, and guys, no surprises there that one name really stands out. Harry Kane had another immense week, now this time against Newcastle. He could have scored a hat-trick, but a brace with 3 bonus points was also great. He was a captain this week as well, and boy, that did feel great. Not much to talk about in terms of our other forwards. Pretty average show from Bamford, and Antonio was disappointing as he came off in the first half with an injury. Now I really hope that substitution was precautionary and there is no serious injury concern for Antonio, but I think I'm wrong here. Antonio might be out for a longer period of time, so we might have to look for another forward. Great, now before we get into our team selection for Game Week 31, there are some really good picks that you can target for this week. These are some options that you can also have for a longer term, considering their favourable fixtures. Our first pick this week is Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now more than 1 lakh managers have already bought him this week, and there's a good reason for it. The Liverpool left back has looked like his old self in recent games, scoring 21 points in his last 2 games. He's whipping in good balls in the box, he looks more confident on the ball. Now one reason that you should get him in is because of Liverpool's next round of fixtures. They play Aston Villa this week, which might not be the easiest of games, but then they play Leeds and Newcastle in the next 2. Overall, the only tough team that Liverpool has is Man United. So if you can get the funds, I would recommend you to consider him for the next round of fixtures. Obviously, you can also go for a cheaper option in Nat Phillips if you just want to cover the clean sheet, but do consider at least having one of these two. Guys, now our second pick is the Liverpool attacker, Diogo Jota. If you are in the market for a 6 to 7 million midfielder, then Jota, guys, is a great option. He's providing great value and his numbers are similar to that of Salah. At almost 5 to 6 million cheaper price, this looks like an obvious transfer, right? Now, there is a certain degree of risk involved in the Jota move. I personally don't think he's going to start every game. Now, in terms of whatever I've seen so far, Jota might replace Firmino or play instead of Salah or Mane. There is no doubt that Liverpool is a far better team when Jota plays, and I'm sure Klopp will take that into account. Now, Liverpool are trailing Madrid by 2 goals in the Champions League quarter-final, and I believe he'll start the second leg. So this means that he might be benched for the Villa game. Nonetheless, if you look at the long term, he's still a great option in midfield. We've seen that he can come off the bench and score points, so I don't think so you should be worried about his benching and minutes on the pitch. Now coming to our third pick this week, it's Iheanacho from Leicester. I never thought he was a great FPL asset, considering that there was only one Jamie Vardy in attack, but this season's proving out to be very different. Now injuries to Maddison, Barnes and a few other players has forced Brendan Rodgers to play Iheanacho, and he's done really well in this team. So much so that managers are looking to get him in their team instead of Jamie Vardy right now. Now a lot of it is because of his value and the crazy 5 million difference in price between him and Vardy. Plus Vardy is now doing all the dirty work, creating for Iheanacho and helping him score goals. He scored 5 goals in his last 5 starts for Leicester. There are a lot of options in attack right now, so Iheanacho could easily be your third or even second striker. Now Leicester's fixtures from Gameweek 32 to 35 look really good from an attacking point of view, and I'm definitely going for him. All these options, guys, look good from a long-term perspective, and it might be wise just to get them now when their price is rising and ownership is comparatively lower than the coming time. Now let's get into our team selection for this week. We have played our wildcard chip, and I'm sure you guys are in for a few surprises. Our team value while making this draft was 103.7 million, so that is one thing to note. Now in goal, we've not gone for Martinez. I mean, he has been great this season, but it's really difficult to justify him on a wildcard when you see his fixtures and then a few other keepers and their games. We've gone for a safe combination of Mendy and Foster. Now you could also go for a Leno if Mendy is not possible due to funds. I had the money and I trust Chelsea's defense more than Arsenal, so Mendy becomes an automatic selection. Now in case if you're not on your wildcard this week, then keeping Martinez would be the right thing to do. I won't transfer him out until I have nothing else to do this week in terms of my other transfers. I think Foster is the safest second choice keeper. He is the cheapest playing keeper in the game, and most of the managers on a wild card will go for him. He also looks like a really good option when Chelsea's games get a bit tricky from game week 35 and 36. Now we've done a change of strategy in terms of our defense. Earlier we had 2 to 3 premium defenders in our team, and that has reduced to only 1 for now. We have retained Luke Shaw from our original team. Now this week can be a bit tricky to play him, but next week it's Burnley and then Leeds, so I see a great attacking potential. All our other defenders are quite cheap in price. We've gone ahead with Rudiger being the second player from the Chelsea team. We're definitely late to the Chelsea party, but it looks good for a few weeks. Plus getting Rudiger instead of Azpilicueta or even Alonso saves us some money, which we can invest in midfield and attack. Guys, the other 3 defenders are quite cheap, with Holding being the most expensive at 4.2 million. Yes, that's right, 4.2 is a third highest priced defender. I don't trust the Arsenal defense to be very honest, but their fixtures are still pretty good, and who knows, there might be a couple of clean sheets there. The ownership would also be pretty low, so if I get points here, I would have a much higher rank rise. Now Phillips is an interesting pick. I would have loved to own Trent, but it's difficult for me to afford him without selling one of my premiums. I still feel Salah might outscore Trent from now till the end of the season. Let's see, but for now, Phillips should cover the Liverpool clean sheet. I won't get much of an attacking threat from him, but that is absolutely okay because I have Jota to help me cover that. Amati from Leicester is my final defender. He's also a cover for the Leicester defense. Now I really don't want to spend too much on Castagna or even Fofana, who's around the 5 million mark. I would rather invest that money to upgrade my midfielders and attackers. Guys, in case if you are not on your wildcard this week, then Diaz from Man City is a definite hold for me. He's the most nailed on City defender at the moment. All the other defenders like Stones and Cancelo should be sold. Now there will be a lot of rotation, so there's no point of keeping them. If you have the likes of Target and Stuart Dallas, I feel you can sell them and get better options in your team. If you have the likes of Cresswell or Soufal, I would probably hold them for now. Their fixtures are quite mixed, but if they play a back 4, then the attacking threat could still be there. So let's come to the midfield now. In midfield, we've retained the likes of Son and Jesse Lingard in our team. Now Son has a double in game week 32, so there's definitely potential there. The tricky part is that he doesn't play in game week 33, so I'd either bench him or move him out for a different player that week. Guys, Lingard is also an interesting one. As I mentioned earlier, the fixtures right now are quite mixed, and there is a possibility of injuries to Declan Rice and Antonio. Now that might affect Lingard's overall threat, but he's still in excellent form right now. It'll be very difficult to ignore that at the moment. Now some alternate options are Gundogan and Mason Mount. If I had to rank all three, it would be Lingard, Mount and Gundogan for me. If you have Gundogan in your team with no wildcard, I'd probably just keep him and play him this week. Man City play Leeds, so there are points to be scored there. I also think that he might be rested for this one, but again no harm in taking that chance, right? Huge upside if he plays, and I feel it's worth the risk this week. Now let's talk about Mason Mount. He's probably the only attacker I trust in the Chelsea team, but again, will he score in every game? I'm not really that sure. His numbers are quite good, but he played the full game against Porto midweek, and again might not start against Crystal Palace this week. Jota's a far better pick, I believe. He also is at a bit of a risk for not starting against Villa, but I feel he's a better long-term move for your wildcard team. Guys, as thought before, we have got back Salah this week. It's crazy that we think he's not having a great season, but we still end up buying the most expensive player in the game. I think the Salah and Jota combination will be a popular one in game week 31, especially for those who are on a wildcard this week. Now I personally don't think it's an overkill of Liverpool attackers. I think they should be the favourites to get that 4th spot, at least the fixtures tell that story. But in case if you don't have the budget for both, I feel Jota is the more value pick. He might not start every game, but at that price, I'm sure you can get another premium midfielder or attacker. Coming to the crazy 1 week punt that we are taking this week. Obviously guys, we haven't learned from the Havertz fiasco and are going a step further this time. We've gone ahead with Sterling instead of Bruno Fernandes for a 1 week punt, and he will almost guarantee the captaincy pick in our team for game week 31. Now before you start going crazy in the comments below, I feel it's a risk worth taking. City are facing Leeds this week. Obviously it's Pep and he might just fool us all again, but Sterling hasn't started in the last 2 games for City. He has a great chance of starting against Leeds, and by captaining him, we might just gain even more. Now of course there are high chances that this might not work at all, but I really don't think I would fancy Bruno to go all crazy against Spurs. It might be a tight game. Now in case if you have KDB, you should play him, but I think he can be rested for this one. I don't think so he'll get an off for the Dortmund game, so Pep might just manage his minutes in the Leeds one. So I think guys, to summarize, Sterling it is for 1 week before we get Bruno next week. Now let's talk about our attack. Guys, we've retained Kane from our original squad. There is no way, absolutely no way that we are leaving him out of our team, probably even till season end. He is a set and forget option in our team. The other 2 are more interesting choices. We had Bamford and Antonio before, but I think there are better options available. We have gone for Iheanacho and Lacazette as our 2. Now there are a lot of ways to look at this. Iheanacho is super valuable, so definitely no harm in getting him and playing him in our team this week. Guys, there is a strong case that when Maddison returns, he might drop to the bench, but I really think Rodgers will play him. He is in the form of his life. He recently signed a new contract, and Vardy hasn't really been among the goals. Maddison might take the Perez role and play behind the 2 strikers, so it's worth playing him this week. Our 3rd striker spot is also very interesting. Right now we've gone ahead with Lacazette. A lot will depend on how Arsenal line up in their Europa League game, and it's a risk playing the Arsenal number 9. The Gunners have been on and off this season. Now they're hardly consistent, and you never know which team will turn up against Sheffield United this week. So since the budget is not really a problem, and we aren't really doubling up on the Leicester attack, we have a few options. There's also Chris Wood from Burnley, who has been in great form of late and is playing a struggling Newcastle side. Then you have Danny Ings, who plays West Brom, and I can see a few goals there. You can even take a 1 week punt on Aguero or Gabriel Jesus and then switch to a different forward next week. Now in terms of playing 11, we are playing a 3-4-3 with Mendy in goal. Right now we have Holding, Phillips and Rudiger, but this can easily become Shaw, Rudiger and one of Holding or Phillips. In midfield we have Son on the bench for this game. I just feel the other 4 players have a better chance to score more, and we are going with 3 up front with all our forwards starting. Guys, let's talk about the final section of this video, and probably one of the most interesting one, the captain picks for game week 31. Now this is a pretty tough week for a clear captaincy choice. I like the Liverpool duo of Mo Salah and Diogo Jota. Now Salah is probably the safer out of the 2, but both could be on the score sheet against Villa. It's not that straightforward, as Villa generally don't concede a lot of goals. Their defensive numbers in the last 6 weeks also suggest that. If you don't want to go through that route, Lacazette is another option. He's playing a Sheffield defense which is the worst in the league in terms of goals conceded, and this is a fixture you can target. The problem here is that you again don't know how Arsenal will do against the Blades especially after the Europa League game this week. Now there are a couple of more options in Chris Wood against Newcastle or even Danny Ings against West Brom. Both are expected to do well, but you will have to be really brave to captain any of these two. The ownership is pretty low, and if this thing comes off, you would have an absolute unreal gain this week. Now I would not captain Bruno or Harry Kane because of their fixture difficulty. I'm sure both can get a goal or an assist, but guys, this feels like a week where you can punt on someone else with no clear options. Another possible way is playing the Pep Roulette. City probably have the best fixtures this week, with other big hitters from Man United and Tottenham playing each other. But again, you really can't predict who will start for Man City, right? I would like to believe that it would be Sterling and at least one of De Bruyne or Sergio Aguero. This again is just my thinking, guys, and I could be absolutely wrong here. I personally like the Sterling punt. The fixture's there, he just needs to start, and we'll see what happens from there. So a very interesting week coming up with all the fixture swings. That'll be all for today's episode, guys. We'll be back again just an hour before the deadline doing a live stream. So do join us for that with a beer or a cup of coffee. I'm sure it's going to be a lot of fun. Guys, don't forget to hit the like button if you like today's video. Please do subscribe to our channel Insanely Football for all the good FPL stuff. Get your teams ready for the game week before the deadline. Have a great one, guys, and I'll see you Insaners next time.